Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of The Message. I am your host, Donatus King. We'll spend this next hour with one purpose in mind, and that one purpose is delivering a message that God is Almighty. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be, is a piece of God. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be, was made by God. Everything that ever happened is happening right now or ever will happen was made to happen by God. God is the master plan for all time and all creation. God is Almighty. The message is produced by the Society of Knowledge Incorporated. The Society is an interdenominational ministry. Our members come from various different religious and spiritual backgrounds. We have various different religious and spiritual beliefs. Although we come from different backgrounds and have different beliefs, there's one belief that we share. There's one piece of knowledge that we hold in common. And that's the knowledge that there is a being. By no matter what name we may have been taught to call that being, by no matter what name we may have come to know that being, whether that name be God, Allah, Yahweh, Jesus, Jehovah, Buddha, nature, by no matter what name, we know that there's a being that possesses not some of the power, not most of the power, but all of the power. That's the reason we do this show, and the only reason we do this show, to deliver the message that that being, that person I call God, that being is indeed Almighty. Today is June the 10th, 2021. I remind that fact because tonight, as we are on most Thursdays, we are live. And I remind that fact because this show is an open discussion, it's a two-way conversation. Those of you that are watching by Facebook, I ask you to join the conversation by posting your comments, and I'll do my best to read your comments out over the air. Those of you that would like to just speak your comments and not type them in, but actually participate by speaking, there's a Zoom link that was posted earlier on this Facebook page, and you go and you see the earlier post, and it says the message, June 10th, 2021, Zoom invitation. Open up that post and you'll see a link that you can just click on that link and you can join the Zoom panel. So again, I invite you to join the discussion. If there's something that's going on in your church, your mosque, your masjid, your temple, your synagogue, your place of worship, and you want to let the world know about it, join the discussion. Let the world know about it. Post your comments on Facebook or join us by Zoom. If there's something that's going on in the nonprofit organization and you want to let the world know about it, I invite you to do the same thing. Post your comments on Facebook or join a discussion through Zoom. More important than what's going on in your nonprofit organization, more important than what's going on in your place of worship, at least in my opinion, more important. If there's something that God has done for you in your life, a miracle that God has worked in your life, and I use that word literally, a miracle, because the God that I'm here to tell you about is working miracles. That's right, June 10th, 2021, God is working miracles. You know, it may be some type of health condition that you have, and you've had all kinds of tests. The doctors have used all kinds of medicines. You've had all kinds of surgeries, and your health condition has not been healed. Don't give up hope. I'm here to tell you that God can work a miracle in your life. Something unexplainable. Heal your body. The same thing with financial problems, same thing with relationship problems, same thing with drug problems. You might be struggling out there right now. You might be hooked on some crack. Tried everything that you could to get off of it. All types of 12-step programs, all types of counseling, all types of prayers by your pastor, your priest, and nothing cured you of that. I'm here to tell you that God Almighty can cure you of that habit. So don't give up hope. God can work a miracle in your life. All right, I see Brother Israel. Thank you for joining us on Facebook. And we are going to open up the panel. We'll have Brother Israel will be joining us soon on through Zoom. And I think we may have another guest or two through Zoom. But while we're doing that, let's go on. We do have a few slides, and we'll get to those slides, and then we'll be able to open up our panel discussion. As I said, today is June 10th, 2021. All right. We'll have our announcements, then our testimonies. After that, we'll have our religious spiritual study. And we're reminded always prove all things, hold fast that which is good. So if you hear me say something, hear one of our panel members say something, don't take it for granted. Okay, don't take it as true. Prove it yourself. Do your own research. Check it out. And if you find out that it's true, then hold on to it. If you find out it's not quite true, let it go. And if you hear me say something or one of our panel members say something that's not quite right, I invite you, I encourage you to don't wait until later on. Put your comment on Facebook or join us by Zoom and give us the correct information. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we're giving out correct information here on the message. Now, there's no ridicule here. If you say something, I say something, there's no ridicule. If you disagree with something that someone says, we'll just, every person is entitled to their own knowledge and their own opinion. So as I said, call and write your comments on Facebook or join the Zoom presentation. All right, so tonight's discussion topic is the Anunnaki. And you see a depiction on the screen now, a depiction of the Anunnaki, and we'll get more into that discussion about who they were and the rest of that as we go on the show. But that's a depiction of a carving depicting the Anunnaki. When we finish that, if we do finish our discussion, then we'll get into our words of inspiration. I want to thank my wife for joining us on Facebook. And I want to remind everyone and encourage everyone to please hit the like button, hit the share button when you join and start a watch party. Okay, and that's it. If we finish, we'll get our words of inspiration. That'll come out of the book of Exodus, chapter 9, verses 20 to 35, chapter 10, verses 1 to 10. You see on the screen right now, that is our main website. That's www.godisalmighty.org. I invite you, I encourage you to lock that into your web browser. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can visit that website, and there are links to all of our social media outlets. We have a Facebook page, a blog, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. You don't have to worry about writing all those different addresses down. Just go to our main website, and there are links that you can click on. Thank you, Brother Eddie, for joining us on Zoom, and we have a few slides that we'll go through, and after we finish that, we're going to open up our panel discussion. The message tonight is coming out of the city of New Orleans, but on the first and third Sundays at 9 p.m., the message is delivered by Messenger Ryan King and Messenger Corey Levier on Facebook Live at the Messenger Facebook page. And that show is produced by the Lafayette, Louisiana Center of the Society of Knowledge, Inc. The Lafayette, Louisiana Center of Society of Knowledge, Inc. is presided over by Messenger Ryan King. The Opelousas, Louisiana Center of the Society of Knowledge, Inc. That's presided over by Messenger Corey Levy. In the Central Florida Center of the Society is presided over by Messenger Tainav L. Imani Temple number 49 of the African American Catholic Congregation, located in Lafayette, Louisiana. And every week I put this announcement up, and I encourage everyone, if you're out there in the city of Lafayette, Louisiana, stop by and visit with them, fellowship with them. They're welcoming. They'll make you feel like family. No matter what your background, religious background is, they'll make you feel welcome. Imani Temple number 28, here in the city of New Orleans. That's at 2411 Treasure Street. That's presided over by Bishop Wendy Meek. The same thing, they'll make you feel welcome. Previous recorded episodes of the message can be watched on television on Cox Cable Orleans Channel 76 on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and on YouTube at DNK Messenger. And if you turned on your TV now, if you're in the Orleans area and you went to Cox Cable Channel 76, you see a previously recorded episode of the Messenger. Testimonies, we're having testimonies tonight, so we'll get right into our religious spiritual study. And again, we are reminded by Thessalonians to prove all things, hold fast that which is good. And tonight's discussion topic is the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki, and we saw that screen before. And the Anunnaki are a group of deities who appear in the mythological traditions of the ancient Sumerians. And what you see on your screen right now That's, is a map of Mesopotamia and Sumer, where you see where the pointer is moving around. That's Sumer. A lot of times we give out names, geographic names, and we really don't know where we're talking about. But that's Sumeria. This is Sumer. And just for a little points as far as to focus yourself, this is the Tigris River right here, and there's the Euphrates. That's the Mediterranean Sea. This is Africa. It says here Egypt, but Egypt is on the African continent. So you have Africa, you cross the Red Sea, come over the Arabian Desert, and you come into what they used to call the Fertile Crescent, Mesopotamia, and that's Sumer. Okay, so we get a little bit of background as to what we're talking about. In the earliest, there are deities who appear in the mythological traditions of the ancient Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians, and Babylonians. In Babylon, you see this right here, you read in the Bible about of the Chaldees. That's where Abraham and his people came from, of the Chaldees. Right? So you see all this stuff is all connected. You have all these religions, all these families, everybody's connected. Babylon, Persia, another name for it, all this the same area. Okay, and currently they call it Iraq. In the earliest Sumerian writings about them, which comes from the post-Akkadian period, the Anunnaki are the most powerful deities in the pantheon. And this is something I had to put this in here, okay? The most powerful deities in the pantheon. And what you have over here, you have a Sumerian ruler named Gudea. And I put that screen up there, I put that photo up there, because when you look at it, those are definitely African features. And one thing that you find when you do some research, when you're trying to get to the truth, you see how racism has been present and prevalent, even in our anthropologists, our historians. If you really looked on the surface at a lot of history books, you would think that the Sumerian people were Caucasians, but reality, they were not. And when you do your research, you find that the earliest inhabitants of places like China were dark-skinned people. And when you do even more research, you find out that all of those folks that settled those areas, even Europe, originated on the African continent. And throughout the various years, what they call migrations went out from Africa. And you see the African features being altered. And then there's some mixing and mingling and things just to change up. But the more you dig, you find, and I had to put this up here, that the Sumerian ruler Gudea. So if Gudea looked like this, and he was in Sumeria, and in Sumeria also was of the Chaldees, then when we start talking about Abraham and his ancestors, they probably look like Gudea. But again, that's just a little bit background. The Anunnaki are the most powerful deities in the pantheon, descendants of An and Ka, the god of the heavens and the goddess of earth, and their primary function is to decree the fate of Sumerians. The ancient Hittites identified the Anunnaki as the oldest generations of God who had been overthrown and banished to the underworld by the younger gods. Now, I can go on. There's a whole lot of discussion that we could have on this, but I want to go ahead and go through a couple more slides so we can get our panel members in here. There are Bible passages that speak about the Anunnaki. Now, they have different references, different names. They're either called the Anakim or Anak. And if you look in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 4, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all they chose. Now, you might be scratching your head, the sons of God. I thought God just had one son, Jesus, but wait a minute. In the beginning of the Bible, it says that the sons, plural. So God has some more sons before Jesus. Well, that's what it says, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. So now we have the sons of God, and they have to have some kind of human characteristics that they can make with humans. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days. Now, there are different translations of the Bible, and when the King James was translated, before King James, the Jewish version, it didn't say giants, it said Nephilim. Okay, Nephilim, that's the term that was used. There were Nephilim in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, and another translation of that is giants, became mighty men, which were of old men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Now, that's in the Bible. And it's a whole lot of our viewers that read the Bible, believe in the Bible, and all this stuff here about the sons of God. Now, there's another book that used to be in the official Bible. And last week we talked about the Apocrypha. But this week we're going to talk about another book that used to be in the Bible. And if you read the Bible, you see that right now there's still references to this book. And that book that I'm talking about is the book of Enoch. Now look what Enoch talks about in book of Enoch, chapter 6. And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied, that sounds like Genesis, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them. So the angels, the sons of God, man, the Bible talks about sons of God, saw and lusted after them and said to one another, come, let us choose us wives. Now this is going to get a little bit deep, so I'm going to read through it. Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men and beget us children. And Sanjasa, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not indeed agree to this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. So he knew that messing with them women was wrong. And he didn't want to be out there by himself, so he made his boys promise that they would go along with him. And they all answered him and said, let us all swear an oath and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations, not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. We're all going to go down and have us a good time. Then swear they all together and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And they were in all 200 who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And these are the names of their leaders. Now, Samlazaz, their leader, Arakabah, Ramiel, and I know that I'm butchering some of these names, so please forgive me. Kokoblel, Tamlel, Ramlel, Daniel, Ezekiel, Barakijo, Asiel, Armaros, Badarel, Ananel, Zachiel, Samsapil, Sadarel, Turel, Jomjuel, Sariel. These are their chiefs of tens. All right, so is it 200? Those are the chiefs of tens. Now look at this. I say it's going to get kind of deep here. All right. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one. And they began to go in unto them and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them, wait a minute, taught them charms and enchantments, gave them knowledge, taught them charms and enchantments and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants, kind of like doctors, okay, so medicine. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, all right, the Nephilim, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds. Oh man, this is some bestiality. They began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. And Azazel taught men, now you know, when you study history and anthropology, you see how the different cultures share information with other cultures. So look what was shared here, and by one of these Anakim. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and breasts and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. Some Java taught, look at this, some Java taught enchantments and root cuttings. Almost the resolving of enchantments. Barakajal taught astrology. Kokabel, the constellations. Ezekiel, the knowledge of the clouds. Arachiel, the signs of the earth. Shamsiel, the signs of the sun. And Sariel, the course of the moon. And as man perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. All right. So I want to get that out, and we're going to welcome Brother Elder. Okay. Brother Elder, if you're still with us.
Yes, sir. I'm driving, my brother. I'm headed to the house. I apologize for not being ready. I'm headed to my house now. I'm driving. I can hear you, so I'll speak from here for now.
Right,
LD. It's LD Ta'ali, brother.
LD Ta'ali. All right, brother.
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you for joining us on the panel. And I know that, I had a lot of stuff that I wanted to just get out there for a little background and just open it up now. And I know, and I'm very confident that Brother Israel has some comments to share with us. Brother Israel?
Yeah, that was a lot of information. And it's real interesting because for everybody out there who read the Bible and who have been studying the Bible.
You're fading in and out, brother.
Like you said, we spoke of the missing books of the Bible. Okay. All right, you got me now?
We have your audio, but not your video.
All right. Well, what I was saying is that the missing books of the Bible, like the Apocrypha and like the Book of Enoch, they explain so much more. And I like to hear all of that, those different angels and what they did for humankind. We're talking about the Anunnaki. And those myths are they're not myths. Though that is their spiritual literature where they talk about these beings, these guys, their deities. They're not their myths. That's their spiritual literature, which they live by a higher place and created man, help establish mankind. So I don't want to go too much into it, but I want to say that was all correct. And the Book of Enoch ties in. It's actually talking about it's just under the names of those different angels. So that there's more to the Bible and there's more to this life, a story.
Right. Okay, you're fading on us, brother. All right, Brother Israel. All right, Brother Israel has faded out on us, but we're gonna, hopefully he'll be back.
Story of life.
Yeah, we still can't really hear you. Still can't really hear you, brother. But just to
right.
Yeah, well, that was clear there. You said all right. That was clear. But coming back, and while the brother is getting his equipment together, some of this stuff sounds far-fetched, and one of the things that I've come to believe is that when we read, as Brother Israel was saying, that these books come out of the spiritual background of the peoples, the more I study, the more I come to believe that a lot of this is not only related to the spiritual aspects of a society or a culture, but also the real, and when I'm saying real, I'm talking about the secular aspects of a culture. And I'm saying this, when you have a culture that is dominant and it conquers a weaker culture, sometimes the history that is written by that dominant culture frames the events of that day as being something supernatural, spectacular. And I'm saying that in the context of, give you an example. If I were to go in some remote area of the world, an area that had not been exposed to electricity and things such as that, and if I were to take out a cell phone and call someone and have a video on there, then the inhabitants of that area who'd never seen anything like that, they may, particularly if I encourage them, refer to me as being a god, something supernatural. And I'm saying that in this context because there's some information that I've read, whereas when you speak about the Anunnaki, that's very clear, brother. When you speak about, all right, welcome back. When you speak about the Anunnaki and men, and you look at that area that they're talking about, Mesopotamia, Sumer, when you non-spiritual, non-religious works, just studying anthropology, it talks about folks called the Aryans and the Dravidians. And when it talks about Aryans, yes, that is very similar to what those folks nowadays call themselves, the Aryans. Bishop Wendy Mead, thank you for joining us on Facebook. And there have been some fighting jokers since way back 1,000 years ago, trying to conquer stuff. Same way you see those Aryans uprising now and calling themselves a super race and a superior race. Back in the days, they were doing a lot of the same things. And I'm saying back in the days, I'm talking about 1,000 years ago. And you saw the picture that I put up there earlier about King Gudea down in Sumer. There's some history, you got to dig deep for it, but there's some history that teaches that what happened is that the Aryans came down and they subjugated the Dravidians. They made slaves out of them, just like in the United States. That area, the Fertile Crescent, that area, you had to have somebody to till the soil, even though it's fertile, somebody to till it, somebody to do the planting, somebody to do the harvesting. And these Aryans that knew all about metalwork and all that kind of stuff came down and they just conquered the Dravidians and made slaves out of them. All right, my brother. Yes, brother Israel.
I'm hearing that, and yeah, that ties into the whole Anunnaki thing when you go deep into the story, because you got like when you're dealing with Sumeria and Babylonia, ancient Iraq and Iran, which is ancient Sumeria and Akkad and all those areas, how you show it on the map. What you're dealing with, there are two different great literatures. There's one great literature that was written in clay tablets coming out of Sumeria that don't exactly talk about the Anunnaki. It talks about the creation of the universe and all these cosmic battles taking place. And then there's another separate literature, which is the later literature coming out of Babylonia, which talks about the Anunnaki as those from above come to earth, creating man and having mankind, humans, to work and toil the land for them for gold and things of that nature. So I just want to draw that in since you were saying that about those fake evidence.
All right. Well, brothers, this discussion is wide ranging, and just go to show you the way things work. What you were talking about just now, there's some things I was reading. This wasn't Rifkin. Rifkin is written about his theories about the Anunnaki. And also there's a guy, and I didn't write his name down, but it starts with a T, I think it's T-E-R. He wrote about the stone circles. The stone circles in South Africa, and his theory about how the this energy force, similar to what Tesla, the modern day, and I think Tesla was in the early 19th century, the modern day scientists spoke about this force, which is real, being able to cut through the earth. Now, something that, and I'm just throwing this out there, brother. So maybe thousands of years ago, there was this precious metal called gold that was located primarily in Africa. Now, some questions that are raised: why is it so precious? Why is it so valuable? Just because it's shiny, just because it's malleable, easy to work with? Well, one idea is maybe not for any of those reasons, not because of that, but because it's such a great conductor of energy. And if you see some of your high-end electrical components, they're tipped with gold. That's because the conductivity rate is so great. So if we had a culture that went down into Africa thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of years ago, because they knew how to use this gold to harness energy and to focus and direct energy, then that right there, when we talk about the Anunnaki, and yes, you're indeed, I've read some of the same thing, that no, they didn't come from Earth. Some folks theorize that they came indeed from another planet to mine that gold. But now I'm gonna leave that hanging out there, because there's something that's going on nowadays, and I'm talking about now, in 2021, going on in Africa. And a lot of folks are sleeping on this. But the biggest, the hottest commodity in the world right now is a commodity that's coming out of Africa. And it's a commodity that's being used and is a necessary component for these batteries, these electric batteries. Right. And you don't hear about this every day, but in the financial arena, there's Elon Musk is hot into that. The Chinese government is hot into that, and they're trying to corner.
Why?
That, because of the value of that ore, that mineral that's in Africa. Go ahead, brother.
I want to add to this. That's great, awesome point. And I'm going to add to that point right fast. We still talking about Anunnaki. We're still talking about everything you just said with these modern nations. Now, once the Anunnaki came to Earth, they landed in Persia. They traced the veins of the gold to South Africa. So South Africa became their mining post, according to these ancient stories. South Africa was called the Abzu. It was their mining post. Now, mining posts for gold. They were mining gold, tunneling in the earth. Now, come to the modern time. During the time of Shaka Zulu, during that late 1800s, the British government, England, the Queen, the kings, and all them, their most expensive war in their history was the war that they paid and financed to take control of South Africa. And once they took control of South Africa, they took control of the gold mines.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't take control of the little Zulu people. They took control of the land and the gold mines, because everybody hear these ancient stories of the Anunnaki mining in Africa. Now they try to tie their bloodline as being kings and queens on God planet Earth to all these Anunnaki stories. So it's a lot of stuff people got to pay attention to. So what you were saying. So
yeah. Brother LD, you at the point where you can join us now, brother?
Yeah, I'm with you, brother. I'm with both of y'all. You know, like my background, I came up in like the Baptist church, went to Catholic schools. Growing into my manhood, I joined the Nation of Islam for a while, and I ended up with the Rastas and Rastafari culture, and from that. Studying other things, Book of Enoch, Lost Books of the Bible, Apocrypha, just books of Eden, just a bunch of different books. But about the Anunnaki, there's this one book I've been sitting with for the past maybe 15 years. It's called the Urantia book. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Oh, well, how do you spell it, brother?
Okay, the Urantia book, Urantia.
All right.
Basically, it's a book sent by the angels, what we would consider in religion to be angels. Basically the ones that were in the beginning, to overseeing the growth of the civilizations and man and things like that. Mm-hmm. So this book tells the story of the Big Bang, from the Big Bang to the death of Christ. It goes into Christ. One of their main purposes of the book, they produced it in 1930, but they didn't publish it and push it out to the world until 1955 through the Urantia Foundation. Once they had control of their own thing, you know, like there's no governing force over the Urantia Foundation. The Supreme Court even ruled that this book was not a work of any man because of the information in it. So that's pretty much why I stand on it. And their information about the Anunnaki, it starts with the Nodites. When Cain killed Abel and went to the land of Nod and found a wife, the Sumerians are descendants of the Nodites, according to this book. They started here on the earth. The Anunnaki are children of the planet. They're not from another world, according to this book. But they did have the knowledge that all man was from space. And like you said earlier, that the winner tell the story. Mm-hmm. Well, in that case, the Anunnaki, the Sumerians being a superior race at the time, their story, you know, held firm that of the beings that we're being from space, but not by ship or anything like that, through all natural, spiritual, natural things, even to the point of DNA being moved around. The angels move different. They don't need ships to move around, you know, put it like that. So, but a lot of their works are done in our fashion. If a tree needs to be, it has to be planted. You know, they have powers to accelerate and decrease speed and time, stuff like that. But back to the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki were descendants of the Nodites. The Nodites were descendants of the sons of God that took the daughters of man. Mm-hmm. Those sons of God, the only way they were able to mate with the women of the earth, they were humans. Those sons of God, it was 100 people, 50 men, 50 women volunteered. They were from other earths, other planets like Earth. They died and was in their supreme being forms. You know, they were in their heavenly, whatever next for us. It's the next level for us. It's a new body, a new energy being, a new being for us. We become, they were in that form, and they volunteered to come to the earth because the earth was new. The people was just coming up from the animal state. So they wanted to come and, you know, set things in. So it was 50 men, 50 women selected to come. And So at some point, whatever the fall of the heavenly war, you know, they go into that story. They call it the Lucifer rebellion. They go into that. Well, whenever the fall happened, that's when those 100 people decided to join the Lucifer rebellion, and they broke the laws of mating with man. So they started mating with up to 50 men, 50 women, and you start having people born like Hercules, people with different powers and different things, some big, some, you know, there's all kind of, we got all those stories, all those myths and stories of those great men of renown, and all that tied into that. Zeus, all that coming from these people, right? So so from them, Adam and Eve, we were created, we, the humans of the earth, made out of the vitamins, minerals, and proteins found in the vegetables, fruits, and nuts of the earth. We came on the fifth day of creation, the 5 million year, or however the time worked. We were created then. And the scripture tell you, he created men and women, he created them, told them be fruitful and multiply, replenish. Replenish means fill up again. To replenish the earth, fill it up again, because it had been previously destroyed from those other God beings that was in control. So from that, Adam and Eve were sent here, you know. So according to this book, they were angels too, sent in physical form. But what points it out, where I could point it out in the Bible, is Adam lived for a little while before he got a mate. So that couldn't be he created men and women, told them be fruitful and multiply situation, because Adam was here for a while without a mate. And then they did whatever they did, or however that story went. We're gonna accept it, but I only accept that he didn't have his mate from his start. He got his mate later. But in the front part of Genesis, they tell you that he made men and women, he created them, told them be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth. We had replenished, we were filled up at the time. We knew Adam was coming. We waited on him. We tried to worship him. We knew about every son of God that was sent. God, yes, it's true. God has many orders of sons. Christ is from an order of creator sons. The crisis, they're called Michaels. You know, the scripture got construed, and they called him the Archangel Michael, but that actual text, it was meant to say the archangels of Michael. Michael, the Michaels are creator sons.
So those creator sons, excuse me. So you saying them creator sons is the Anunnaki? Is that what you're saying?
No. These beings are way higher. These are the beings that say, let us make man in our image. What about the Anunnaki though, like from that? Yeah, okay. So the Anunnaki, well, I was just giving a Genesis on that, right? So it was men, it was us on the earth. And you're gonna always hear stories of two alien races. So the two alien races were the Adamites and the Nodites. From the Adamites, they all devolved into human beings through mating, mixing mating, and things like that. But the Nodites, the Sumerians descended from the Nodites, and so that's where they're great. We great. We know we powerful. We supreme. The story was really they were more advanced because they descended those people. And I only gave that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop right here. I only gave that because I agree. Because everything else, the rest of the story that I heard so far from the both of you is correct. So I was only giving this little Genesis because this story haven't been heard before. You know what I'm saying? So the Anunnaki, the Sumerians, they descended from the Nodites. The Adamites just blended into the other races. So that's why their story got to be more, profound over, more found over the rest of the stories.
All right.
Brother Israel?
Yeah, I wanted to say also about the Anunnakis that like the stories that are relatable to the Bible that people might want to find out or know about in the Anunnakis, like you have the story of Adam and Eve being ran out of the Garden of Eden. Well, when you study the Anunnaki and you get into their literature, Sumerian, Babylonian, Akkadian literature, you'll see that they had a Eden, a Garden of Eden, and they had a being called Adamu, and Adamu and his and his wife was ran out of that garden. And then you'll see stories how the Anunnaki talk about the earth being flooded or destroyed. And this one guy, Ea, Inkai, talks to talk to one of his earthly counterparts, and he tell him that a flood is coming, and he commissioned him to build a boat, a giant ark, a submarine, and he put all these different DNA codes on his boat with him. That's like the Noah's Ark story. So when you start finding out these Anunnaki stories, you'll start seeing corresponding stories in the Bible, and it should open up a bigger picture of what's going on. Like he was just explaining from the Urantia point of view, that all these different Adamites, Nodites, all these different beings tie into, under different various names, tie into sons of gods, of the Nephilim, whatever name they were given, and it's relevant. So when people check out the Anunnaki, you'll find out that there's a lot of biblical comparisons that could be made.
All right, just okay, you were referencing, Brother Israel, other literature. You were referencing some other literature. Is that the Enuma Elish?
Yeah, the Enuma Elish. That's the epic of creation, and that talks directly about the Anunnaki coming to planet Earth and establishing order on Earth, and establishing kingships and wars breaking out, and the development of humanity. Yeah, the Enuma Elish talk about that, and it sounds so similar to Genesis and other parts of the Bible. And the Atrahasis, like I said, the Atrahasis is another book that talks a literature that was translated from the clay tablets that talks about stories that are that you may find similar to the Bible when they talk about the Epic of Gilgamesh and stuff like that. So it's a lot of Samson and Gilgamesh. It's a lot of biblical stories that correspond with those Anunnaki stories. Only thing about it is that these stories let you know that we are talking about being from out the Anunnaki, those from heaven come to earth, because Anu symbolizes the sky, and Ki, the Ki, Ki is for earth. So that's why they call them the Anunnaki, meaning those from heaven come to earth. So we got to take all that to account, because right now, for the past month and a half, the United States government been telling people that we have unidentified, we have ships of things flying around in the sky, and it's not American. They don't know if it's Russian. They don't know if it's China. They don't know what it is. Yeah. So we have all type of stuff that's starting to take place, and these stories, how he was just speaking about that Urantia, and the Bible, like you spoke of Enoch and Ezekiel and wheels and ships of light. It's a lot of stuff we got to start taking and start looking at it from a fresh pair of eyes as biblical Bible readers.
Just something that's kind of interesting when you talk about coming down to earth, coming from heaven. On the east coast of Africa, and I don't want to misspeak, and if I am, please correct me, but I think the east coast of Africa is mountainous. I think when you look up at the they call it Lower Nile, it's where it originates in the mountains. And if there were a civilization that lived in that area and they possessed a whole lot of knowledge, then some folks that live down at the bottom will see them descending off that mountain. And it may be a corruption of terminology, but maybe when he first started talking, it wasn't talking about coming from out the sky. We're talking about folks that are coming down from off the top of that mountain. So it's interesting. I love discussing stuff and studying. Go ahead, brother.
That's an awesome point. Because Mount Olympus is Greek. Mount Olympus is a mountain. Mount Kau in Egypt is Mount Hetep is heaven. Mount Kilimanjaro, the Chinese guys, I forgot the name of their mountain. That's a good point. All of these gods and goddesses, they come from mountainous areas, high in the clouds, not barren with food, not that kind of mountain, but high in the clouds.
But that goes along with that falls in history. In history, well, even I mean that's kind of infrastructure. If you was a king, you would build high to oversee your kingdom, you know. So mountaintops and hills were always the selected points of. But again, the Anunnaki. If you come to me and say, man, tell me about yourself, I'm gonna tell you all the good things. I'm gonna tell you the strong things, and I might even exaggerate some things. But if you ask my brother about me, you know, give me your personal opinion on your brother, his story might be different. So, you know, the Anunnaki could say, man, we come down from another planet, but whose story, who else's story says that, hey, we witnessed these guys come down from a, you know, come down to this planet. Like some things we can't take everything, you know, like I like the point where we could bring all the stories together, and then I only hold what they all could speak on. If they all can't speak on it, you know, I don't really big it up too much, you know what I'm saying? But I mainly just dwell on the things where they all could come together. Like the whole world tell a flood story. I feel that the ancient science lied to us. They told us about dinosaurs. Dinosaurs never existed. You had woolly mammoths, saber-tooth tigers they found in tar pits, but they never found these big lizards that if you look at all of those skeletons they have, it's the iguana head is was their mold to paper mache the skulls for the dinosaur bones. But when you look at history, what they were finding, even Abraham Lincoln, they were digging up giant human bones from these mounds and all over the world. The Smithsonian admitted to dumping over 2,000 or so human bones that they had in their museum in the ocean. So they hid the human history, and they start changing the history when they realized that it was man, that everything was man. Is no intervention with the sky. There's no space travel. You know, we can't leave the planet. A fish can't jump out of his aquarium and walk around on land, you know? So we can't jump out our oxygen bubble and walk around in other atmospheres. We die. We leave here through the death, either through spiritual death or physical death. You know, we leave through different ways like that. So, you know, I'm on a modern and an ancient, because we wouldn't know where we going or what we are if we didn't know the past. So, you know, I just was, you know, just something.
All right, Brother LD. Oh, look, Brother Israel broke out the lens. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, see, I like to show this to a lot of people who doubt that floods ever existed or the earth wasn't never ravaged. This is a book right here. It's an awesome book. It's called the Atlantis Encyclopedia. It's by Frank Johnson. It has every culture that you can name, from Alulu to the Atlassian, all the way to the Zemu and the Zuni. The Lulu stories from A to Z. These are important. It's a nice big book too. So these are really important stories. So if people say, oh, well, the Bible is, who believes the Bible? Well, if you step out the Bible, there's the Atlantic Encyclopedia show you every culture that he could find that tells you of some sort of flood of the Lulu story and gods and goddesses involved.
All right, brother. We come to that point in the show, it's time to wrap it up. And there have been a number of books, publications that have been discussed here tonight. And I'd encourage all of you there's a local bookstore, that's the community bookstore, Sister Vera, over there on Bayou Road. So go check them out. And if you can't find what you're looking for locally, you know, go online. You know, and you can purchase these books. And as Thessalonians tells us, to prove all things, hold fast that which is good. Don't take my word for it. Don't take Brother Israel's word for it. Don't take Brother LD's word for it. Do your own research. And I heard Brother LD said that, he takes a little bit here, a little there, and if he doesn't find that it comes together, he leaves it alone. So that's the only say, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. I want to thank your brothers for joining us tonight. I think it's been an informative discussion. I encourage you to share this with your Facebook friends. It may be folks that don't know about the Urantia books or the No Dykes or the Enuma Elish. Maybe folks don't know about that. And if they hear this discussion, that might encourage them to go out and do their own research. So this show, it will be on our YouTube page, hopefully by tomorrow evening. But you can always, I think, go to my page and share this. Just hit the share button. All right, let your folks know.
You got a Urantia book? Brother Israel got a Urantia book right there.
Yeah, there it is. Oh, that brother, he comes correct now. He does.
Yeah, that's my brother.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. All right, brothers. I'm gonna close out tonight, and I thank you all. And what I'm gonna do now is this last minute of the show. Just go ahead and close this last minute of the show so that we can ask our. And let me make sure that I have it straight here. All right. Okay, that's, I mean, I think. All right. And I'm trying to get into so that I can close it out. All right. Okay, I think we're there. Sister Carolyn, thank you for joining us on Facebook. And we've had a lot of discussion here tonight, and a lot of information was shared, a lot of knowledge was shared. And again, even though I enjoyed sharing that knowledge, the main purpose of this show, and the only purpose of this show, the message, is to deliver the message. And that message is that God is almighty. No matter what name you use, there is an almighty being, a being that controls and is in charge of all things. And because I know that there is an almighty being, I know that no matter whatever it is that that being has in store for you in this upcoming week, that being can indeed bless you with peace. And that's my prayer. No matter whatever God has in store for you in this upcoming week, may God Almighty bless you and yours with peace. Till we meet again here next week on The Message, may Almighty God bless you with peace.